Jim, you know my friend Trixie. Her neighbor, who's only 49, just had a heart attack, and it turns out that he has high cholesterol.
Right, you know, unfortunately, heart disease is the #1 killer of people in the United States. Every 40 seconds, someone is having a heart attack. And the sad part is, it's mostly preventable. So if you look at the risk factors for heart disease, now there is a genetic component, but family history really only makes up about 10 to 15% of the risk, except in some pretty rare, very specific genetic disorders, mainly around cholesterol. But if you look at the other risk factors, it's mainly lifestyle, right? It's smoking, you know, poorly controlled diabetes, high blood pressure, sedentary lifestyle, and also high cholesterol.
What is cholesterol?
So cholesterol is a waxy substance that our bodies really require to survive. We need it to build cells. It's actually the starting point for many hormones like estrogen, testosterone, and even vitamin D. So we have to have cholesterol in our bodies.
Well, so when somebody says that they have high cholesterol, like Trixie's neighbor, what exactly does that mean?
Well, when we measure cholesterol numbers, we look at several things. We look at the total cholesterol, which is made up of really 3 components. The LDL cholesterol, which is the bad cholesterol, and that stands for low-density lipoprotein. And that's just what that means is it's a protein that carries cholesterol around in our bodies, right?
Okay.
We also have good cholesterol, or HDL cholesterol, high-density lipoprotein. You can think of that almost like as a garbage truck. It goes out and picks up cholesterol molecules and takes them back to the liver to be metabolized. So traditionally, the higher the HDL, the better. And then there's another one called VLDL, or very low-density lipoprotein. We're not too concerned about that directly. It tracks with your triglyceride levels. Now, high triglycerides can be a risk factor for heart disease, but that's how fat's moved around in our blood vessels as we move it into the fat cells to be stored. So, ideally we want to see total cholesterol less than 200. We want your LDL cholesterol to be less than 100. Now, for some people that are at very high risk or have had heart attacks, we really are shooting for an LDL cholesterol level less than 75.
Okay, well, then where does all of this cholesterol come from?
Well, it's interesting. Our bodies actually make all the cholesterol we need, right? So when we start to see high cholesterol in the blood, it's typically dietary. The main cause are unhealthy fats, particularly saturated fat and then trans fats. The #1 source of saturated fat, by the way, in the Western diet is actually milk and cheese. But you can also get cholesterol directly from food. Now, the thing is, you only find dietary cholesterol in foods that come from animals. So eggs, which is, by the way, the #1 source. Cheese, in addition to having saturated fat, also has cholesterol. And then shellfish is another food that has a fair amount of cholesterol.
All right, well, today I'm going to show you an excellent substitute.
Oh, goodness.
Well, it's a good thing because eggs are so expensive now. I know. Okay. No, in all seriousness, there are really a good amount and a growing amount of plant-based egg substitutes on the market. And I see more and more all the time. But there's going to be added oils, which translate to added fats,
right,
of
which
course.
we don't need, right?
Yeah, which I really want no part of. So what we're going to make today is both oil-free, so very low in fat, no fat,
right,
and cholesterol-free.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and we're just going to be using these mung beans. I think you'll find them extraordinary.
Oh my God, you are exasperating me with all of this egg talk.
Okay, seriously, let's just get cooking. Are you as excited as I am to get down with this egg? Okay, it has 0 cholesterol, 0 oils, so almost 0 fat,
right,
full of flavors, and very easy to do. Okay, we're just gonna blend everything up. The base of this recipe is mung beans. Actually, they're split mung beans.
So what's a mung bean?
So it's a legume, but it's a split mung bean. What that means is the hulls, so the shell, has been removed.
Got it.
And then what I did with these, it looks like more than 3/4 of a cup here, but I took 3/4 of a cup of these split mung beans and then soaked them overnight. So they've kind of poofed up a little bit. And so these are going to be, I'm going to get them all into our NutriBullet. You can use a blender, whatever, but I would suggest you use something that will really puree these down to a liquid. All All right, so now we have 1 3 cups of a plant-based milk. This is oat milk, but really whatever you want to use is just fine. Now,
As long as it's plant-based.
As long as it's plant-based.
Right.
Yes, we have some cornstarch, and this is going to make the eggs, it's going to give them some fluff.
Right. There's some baking powder in there too, right?
Yes, there's some baking powder, just a little bit. The recipe is in the show notes. Then we have some nutritional yeast, so that's
Right.
going to give it just a little bit of a cheesy flavor. You certainly don't have to add that, but I like to add that to my eggs.
Right.
And this is some turmeric and some black salt, also known as kalanamak.
That's like the magic. That's like the secret ingredient, right?
It is, because it's that volcanic salt that really gives eggs that kind of sulfur
flavor, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's used a lot in Indian, South Indian cooking, is that right? Or Indian cooking in general, right?
Yeah.
Is where you find kalanamak.
Yeah, you can find it. I know that you went to India and you
Right.
bought a
Right.
rack of it, but you can usually buy it at international grocery stores.
Right, sure.
And of course Amazon, because
Right.
Amazon.
Right.
And we'll just blend it. All right, and now it's all ready, and it just takes a second, you know,
Right.
because we've pre-soaked all of those beans. And then we're gonna just take this and then put it on a skillet, a hot skillet, and make some eggs.
It looks like scrambled eggs.
Yeah,
right?
it does. It
right,
does.
Right.
And it looks like those other plant-based egg substitutes
Right.
that we find in the grocery store.
But
No oil, so no added fat.
right.
And no cholesterol.
All right, I can't wait.
Okay, here we go. So we've preheated our skillet.
Right.
It's like a medium, 50%. I'm gonna add a little bit of heat right now. Now the mixture that we just made, that makes 4 servings.
Okay.
So we're gonna put this guy, give it about a 1/4 there.
There we have it.
About a 1/4. Yeah, we're gonna pull that heat up just a little bit. Now, just like any omelet, we're gonna wait for it to bubble just a little bit and turn brown around the sides.
Wow.
And
It's
you
already
can,
starting to bubble.
yeah,
Look at that.
it is. Yeah, and it kind of smells like eggy
Yeah,
from
yeah.
that kalanamak.
Yeah.
It's so delicious.
That's amazing.
Isn't that something else? And you know, I've tried to, or I have used some of these other egg substitutes, or the plant-based egg substitutes, and it looks exactly like this.
Yeah.
But you know, I just felt inclined to make it instead, just
Right. Without the fat.
without the fat. Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So we're just going to wait
That's
for
astounding.
this just a second. Yeah, and it's starting to
Firm up a little
firm
bit.
up just a little bit. Now, because we are using beans, and I know we've talked about this before, we're using beans which are high in fiber,
Right.
low, well, obviously no cholesterol,
Right,
right?
right.
So very low in fat.
Right. Well, the other thing that people may not know about beans and legumes in general is they are one of the most potent anti-inflammatory, antioxidant foods out there. And it turns out it's the color, the pigments in the skin, right?
Oh, right.
That
We
provide,
talked about that.
and so
yeah.
these have a yellow pigment, and so that pigment is highly anti-inflammatory. And in fact, if you look at antioxidant scores, there's kind of an arbitrary measure. It's called an ORIC score, which doesn't really matter. But beans, many dark-skinned beans are more of a potent antioxidant than berries. I mean, we always think about blueberries,
I always think about
raspberries,
right,
blackberries.
exactly. The dark leafy greens, the dark berries.
Right. But the dark beans are even more antioxidant than that. So another benefit,
No kidding. And we added turmeric to this
Right,
as
right.
well.
Another, yeah.
Everybody knows turmeric is anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, it has curcumin, and curcumin is, in fact, one of the most potent anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory foods out there.
Oh, it's starting. So what we're going to do here is we can make an egg scramble, or you can just, I'm going to actually use your fork here, or one of the forks. And just look at that, so you can see how it's taking shape.
Yeah.
So you play around with these a little bit, but sometimes I just scoot it to one side of the pan. Sometimes I'm able to fold it over. It's real food. It doesn't always act like you want it to.
Right.
But I mean, it just, it's just kind of a fun experiment. I'm going to give this just another you know, if you cover it, obviously it's going to cook a little bit faster. And we are at about, I don't know, at 60% power here. So we don't want to scorch it, right?
Right.
And we're not using any oil in the pan, so for, you know, obviously no added fat. So you just kind of watch it a little bit and have a little bit of patience. It should take, you know, 3-ish minutes or so.
Yeah. That's amazing the way it looks. It does look like when I used to make omelets. It looks like an omelet.
Right.
It's crazy. Who knew, right? Beans.
They knew.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Okay, so you can see, like, look at that. That's hardly, like, this part right here.
Yeah,
it's
like
really
done.
just, it's done, right?
Yeah.
And so what I think we're going to do here is, this guy is just, I'm going to just scooch him all the way over so you can see how it's, love it. Look at that. And now it's going to be just a little bit creamy almost. Oh my gosh, and that just cooks in a second. Oh yeah.
There you go.
There you go. I mean, look at that. Oh, this is so incredible. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind moving those forks. Now, this is one serving, but you know, I think I could probably eat that whole.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right?
Can't wait to try it.
I know. Well, okay, we're doing hot sauce, right?
Yeah.
Tell me yes. Okay, good.
Yeah. And then maybe a little black pepper, right?
Yep.
So interestingly enough, the curcumin that's in that turmeric, you can see increased absorption rate. So the turmeric is kind of what makes it yellow, makes it eggy.
Yeah.
But black pepper actually increases the absorption of curcumin by about 40%. So you get more bang for your buck. Plus, it tastes good, right?
Yeah, I have heard that before, and that's why I tell a lot of students who come into the shop.
Yeah.
If you need that absorption, add a little bit of black pepper.
So tell me when. Use the whole bottle.
Yeah, when?
All right.
Ready?
We're ready to dig in.
Okay.
Get some of that hot sauce, some of that yummy.
Well,
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. I would have
Excellent, right?
Yeah, most excellent. You know, this really scrambles my brain thinking about this.
All right, well, that's good because the show is over. Easy.